Another movie we watched this week that blew me away was Fox and His Friends.
Yeah, dude, directed by the fucking master of the new wave German cinema movement, Rainer Werner Fassbinder.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can say Fassbinder, whichever one. I think it's fine. And I think you have to admit, like, it's nice, when you're a film guy and you're watching films, it's always so like refreshing to find like a new voice, a new style, like a new language,
Mm-hmm.
I've just really like recently just been watching Rainer Werner Fassbinder films. I had seen World on Wire 2 years ago at Braindead Cinemas, which is it's like a 3.5 hour Rainer Werner Fassbinder movie.
Damn.
But it was pretty dope. It was my first taste of it, but I really didn't start getting to his films until like a month ago or something, and I watched The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. Really good, and I was really like kind of blown away by it. Then I watched Ollie Furious' Soul, and then I watched Fox and His Friends, which we watched this week, and I'm really glad that you actually watched that movie, because I kind of like, dude, you got to watch some Fassbinder. Like, it's fucking, it's different, and it's like a new discovery, like a new voice that you discover, and it's like a really refreshing like thing that like when you find like a director like that,
Yeah, I love his unique perspective on the world. Like, he has something to say in such a like unique way, as opposed to like how another director would say the same message. You know, what he takes away from things is like how power like controls the environment around you, controls the people around you.
Yeah,
I've seen a bit of Ali Fears the Soul.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to sit down now that I watch Fox and His Friends and watch like a lot more of his stuff and watch those movies that you were talking about.
Yeah.
But even in like Ali Fears the Soul, it's like about how this woman's like environment affects her perception of like this person that she loves. Like how it kind of like starts to corrupt her. And I feel like we see a lot of that too in this movie, Fox and His Friends, how this environment's like kind of just like corrupted by this guy's like wealth.
Yeah, there's definitely thematics that run throughout his film, and I don't know if you on his Wikipedia page, he was very influenced by the Douglas Sirk melodramas of the 1950s. So movies like Magnificent Obsession, like All That Heaven Allows.
Okay.
That like Rock Hudson, who's like the out of towner, like lower class guy falling in love with the woman that's a higher class. And the thing was, like, Rock Hudson was gay in real life.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah.
So we have this sort of like dynamic, and then he sort of takes that 1950s melodrama and flips it his own way, where he's also doing classes, but he's also doing it with like sexuality. He's also doing it with like race. He's also doing it with like same type of vibe, but he's like really working in like a very contemporary, modern way for like his time, like 1970s West Berlin, know? And he has a lot to say about like economics, class, relationships, family, and like how
sexuality, race, like he has a lot to say.
Yeah, bro.
I fucking love that he just feels like when you watch someone on the tip of something, like you can tell that he's like spearheading this this movement, dude. Like, he's taking on homosexuality in a way that like no one had taken it on before him. Like, he is making this something that is normal. It's not something that's like a butt of a joke or like some kind of like greater commentary. It's like these characters, it's like a gay community, and then how do we craft a story around that? And like, you don't see that in the 70s, dude. Like, that's crazy.
In the world, they just exist, and it's like these parents are having dinner with their gay son and his partner, and it's like not even a question of it. The only thing that they're questioning is like his mannerisms and like how he carries himself as a man, because he's a lower class guy. And the commentary, I think, is just so interesting about all of his movies is that no matter how you're born, like how you're brought up, you can't like take that out of them, and it's like you can't just live in someone else's world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
people will have prejudices and like bigotry around these characters, but these characters don't really ever do anything other than be themselves.
For real, dude.
So like the movie follows
Fox and His Friends from 1975, written and directed by Rainer Werner Fassbinder.
And it follows this young man named Franz, and they call him Fox too. And he's this gay man in Berlin in the 70s. And
yeah, West Berlin.
Yeah, West Berlin. Yeah. That's important because divided Berlin back then.
For real, bro. Crazy, dude. Putin on the other side.
I know.
Well, no, Putin wasn't the head of anyway, let's keep going. Sorry.
No, but like the Soviet Union on like East Berlin, like, you know, you'd have to fucking, it was crazy. Basically, he's this gay man who wins a lottery and suddenly he's brought into this like kind of higher echelon class of like all these other people circling around him and like not necessarily like vultures like trying to like get what they want from him right off the bat, but eventually it just all like falls to like he's giving out too much of his money and everyone's using him for his money. By the end he's left with obviously nothing, and that's kind of how the story goes, and we've seen it before, but it's such a unique take on that story.
Yeah, dude. And like the ending as well, just like really like hits the nail on the head, and he just kind of like abandoned by everyone because he doesn't have any money anymore. Just everyone just uses him for money, and
he's abandoned by the people that we thought were closest to him. At the very end, they're like, he's dead. We can't do anything for him.
And like I said before when we were talking about it earlier, typically the poor that are taking advantage of the rich, but in this one it's like the rich are taking advantage of the poor because they're like using the rich are taking his money that he won in the lottery for their own good, and they just like totally like fuck him over. And that was a really interesting take on the whole thing.
Like at the beginning he's like he's implied that he's like kind of just like not like an idiot, but he's just like kind of like
also, Fox is played by Rainer Werner Fassbinder.
Yeah, that's a big part of this. He's playing his own character. And he was also like a gay, bisexual man like in his life. So it's like something that's like, it's a story that he feels like he needs to tell. You know what I mean? Like,
for real.
Like, it's so good. And so he's like kind of this like brute, hothead kind of kid. He's like, I know I'm going to win the lottery today. Like, I know, like, I need 10 francs. I just need like 10 francs. And I'm going to win the lottery. And everyone's like, no, I'm not going to give you any money. No. He eventually has to go and like scam someone for the money. And he like gets the lottery ticket and he wins. He wins like 500,000.
Yeah, which is a lot back then.
It's a lot. Yeah. It's $500,000. And he's basically brought in this like higher echelon, like gay community essentially. And he meets this guy who's like, they're at the beginning, they're all making fun of him. They're like, where'd you find him? Did you find him in the bathroom? And this guy did find him in the bathroom. He's like, there's nothing wrong with finding him in the bathroom, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah.
It's insight into the kind of gay culture too.
Yeah. It's definitely like gay culture with like their sexuality and like just how that's like a huge part of like gay identity. Eventually, like the guy that was like shitting on him is like, this guy's like so lower class. He doesn't even know what he's doing. He smells so bad. Fox like fucks him, dude. He fucks him, and like this guy leaves his boyfriend for Fox.
Yeah.
Suddenly the dynamic turns into like Fox is kind of like slowly being beaten down and changed by this like kind of upper class, like dignified, educated society. Even though there's nothing wrong with like not knowing what the fuck a play is or not knowing like what fork to eat something with, you know, like it's just all this, like we know as the audience that all this stuff is so trivial and stupid and that this is not good and this is not who Fox is, but he keeps going along with it because he doesn't know better, you know? Yeah,
like at first when he gets some money, like he seems pretty happy and everything, and I think that's true with like a lot of people. When you earn a lot of money, when you get like a paycheck or you get something, like you feel like really good at first, but then like it kind of like that feeling goes away. It's just an ephemeral like high that goes away, and all these problems come with it. It's also just a commentary on capital and economics and stuff, like what money does to people, like how money changes people. You know what I'm saying? Like my dad always says like, yeah, like alcohol changes people, like money changes people, like drugs change people, like war like changes people, like power changes people, and like that's like really like true, you know what I'm saying? What I really like though is when he kind of comes to a head with it, and he has this dinner, like this fancy dinner with his parent-in-laws or whatever, and like he can't follow the directions, and he's just like trying to make a joke, and like they don't think it's funny, they think it's like rude,
and he just leaves. He just gets up and walks out, dude. I love that part.
He gets out and walks out, and he goes to like just some like local little like, I don't know, sauerkraut place or whatever, like, and he just goes there and he just orders, he walks in and he just orders the sauerkraut, like the sausage, and just like
the bratwurst,
the bratwurst, and eats it, and he just kind of like finally like, oh, okay, finally get a break and kind of come to back to like a comfortable place for me, and this is like how I eat, you know what I mean? And like I like that a lot, that part.
Yeah, I love that, because he kind of like, dude, there's something so badass about him at the beginning, you know, he's just happy, and like, he's like ignorant, but like blissfully ignorant, and like, he's like very interesting, like true to himself character. Seeing that slowly be like suppressed by like his boyfriend, who's like a huge asshole, and like the actor does such a good job of like subtly like playing this guy like who just like slowly beats him down and changes him. It's just like, dude, you don't want to buy that fucking apartment. You don't want to do this. You don't want to, and like, they fuck him over so hard at the end. Even when he's like, I'd like my money back. And they're like, well, we paid you your money, your wages or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. They fuck him over. And it's also really about why caste systems exist. It's not necessarily that it's not like illegal to marry someone from a different class, but it's mostly just socially you're just not going to match with them. Like, that's why we have like caste systems and the poor kind of stay poor, is because they can't actually like fit into a certain way of life because they were raised totally different. And that's why it's almost like homogenic relationships for the most part. You know, that's why people marry within the same race for the most part. They have kids in the same race, and like, you know, it's just like the way it kind of is. And that's kind of what he points out in this in the story, you know.
I don't know, like I feel like his commentary is not saying like that's the way it is. He's saying like that's the way people are around you, but you don't sympathize with those characters around him.
Yeah.
You sympathize with the people that are like willing to go into a different class or willing to like try to like break this barrier of society. I think like that's his ultimate message, and that's what he wants to leave his audience with. And I feel like we have strived to break those barriers down. I think that's like really cool.
Yeah. I think that's, But also you see it when they go to Morocco.
Yeah.
And they're like trying to have a relation with this Arabic guy, but then the hotel's like not allowing it and stuff.
Yeah, even though the guy is telling them you can't have Arabs in here is Arab.
Yeah.
Like, but dude, what do you think that shot was when they get into like the taxi and it's just like hanging on the Moroccan street for like a long ass time?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was like, I know. Remember, aren't they like arguing about some bullshit, and they're just showing these like this whole other world of all these like poor people and shit, and like they're like everyone's looking at them because they're like these really like, you know, fancy guys in these suits. These like white guys are like, you know, they're all just like watching like the car like go by in Marrakesh, and it's almost like people want to be with other people, but for some reason it just can't happen. There's always some roadblock, even though people want to be with like someone else who like looks different from them, but they just for some reason aren't able to do it. Same with him being a working class guy trying to make it work with a higher class guy. As much as they want it, it just for some reason the way of the world just doesn't allow it to happen. Yeah, that's a really interesting like thing. Like I think about it with me and you, like who are we likely going to be ending up with? I'm more likely going to end up with someone who has like is from my same like social class and who looks like me.
Well, I think there's something to be said where it's like it is easier to go that route. But that doesn't mean it like can't be done. Like it takes like it does.
It takes a lot of sacrifice on someone's part to have to do it, though.
Yeah, it does.
You know, people aren't willing to make that sacrifice.
It takes sacrifice, and if you find that person, it's worth it to take that sacrifice. Luckily, I feel like we're not in a place right now where like you're gonna be judged for taking that sacrifice. Whereas I feel like in Ali Fear Eats the Soul, like you're like there's society around who's judging you for taking that sacrifice.
Yeah, that's different. No, I think we're in a day nowadays where we're not going to be judged for it. It's just going to be in your own personal way of life that things that you want, the way that you want things to be, aren't going to be that way if you're going to be with this person. Yeah, that's the type of vibe. Like your myopia, your worldview, the way you want things to be has to like really match with someone else if you want to have the way things. You want to have things the way that you want them to be. Yeah. You know, that's kind of like what I feel like they touch on Fox and His Friends and his other movies. And same with Petra von Kant. She starts a relationship with like a young wannabe model. They're just like so different, just not going to work. They're in totally different places, you know what I mean? In their lives. And and she wants to like control this girl, and the girl's like, I'm like 23, like I'm going to go and do shit, you know, like with my life, you know?
You gotta watch that now, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, he's...
And his photography is fucking amazing.
Oh,
dude.
it's so good, dude. Like, just at the beginning with, like, the carousel, the carnival, and just, like... Oh, he's so good. I love the scene in Morocco when they go, like, from the streets of Morocco to the, like, little diner they're at.
Yeah.
So cool there, dude.
A real true artist. Like a real artist, bro. Like 1970s, such a good time. Like he was working at the peak, making so many films in like the greatest era of cinema around the world.
Seriously.
Can't be denied.
We're going to watch more of his films now because, his cinematic language is like sick. And dude, like we haven't even mentioned, he started making movies when he was 21. He died when he was 38 and he made 40 movies.
Yeah, no, he was a very prolific...
And he did plays at the same time.
Yeah, no, he was just like really like but the thing was, dude, he didn't do any rehearsals, and he would, because he created a really trusted company. Like he like built up this whole theater troupe and this theater, which eventually got like burned down by a jealous guy that he worked with that was like jealous of his success, that he burned down his whole theater. But he kept like a strong troupe of actors, and he would like, the way he would do it, he would only do one take and no rehearsal and like move on. You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy to think about because all the performances are so good.
Yeah.
You know? And he would just make like, he had a crazy like work ethic and just made movies. Like Ali Fears is made in 2 weeks, you know?
Yeah.
So like, such a good movie to make so quickly, dude.
We have just a friend that's constantly writing. We have a friend that kind of has that work ethic, but he definitely doesn't have that one take ethic.
Definitely not. He really like was able to fine tune his style, and like kind of do like some shit, you know? Like, our friend is still developing that. Fassbinder died like cocaine and barbiturates overdose, you know what I mean? But imagine if he had like 10 more years on him, bro. But I mean, the reason why he made so many films is probably because he was on drugs.
You think so? Like a lot?
Oh, yeah,
in the early days?
I mean, that's how he was able to make all those movies, because he was probably staying up all the time writing and shit and just doing like not sleeping.
Yeah. There's
no way anyone could like do all that work he did without being on some sort of, you know, something.
Yeah.
Bro. Like 4 movies a year, dude. Like,
dude, fuck off, dude. That's insane.
Yeah,
like,
and plays in like TV shows.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep watching his films, and we should talk about him again. We should watch any of those movies.
Yeah.